Pro Family Days, day number 2. What happened and what is coming in the future? Find out today on Florida Focus. Hey guys, my name is Noah Fay and welcome to Florida Focus. Joining me again is DiPietro. I can't get rid of this guy, I tell you what.
I'm stuck.
You're stuck here. We're going to have to keep having these conversations for a long time.
Exactly.
So day number 2, what happened today?
So today we started out at, I think, how early did you get up? I got up at, I think, 5:40. I got up as late as I could while still having enough time to be able to get on the road. But I think 5:30, 5:45 this morning.
My coworker turned my alarm off, and so I slept in until 5:55. Somehow we made it at 6:15. We made it to the Civic Center before everybody else. I don't know how that happened.
But we got to the Civic Center. The doors opened at 6:30. Breakfast started at 7. So we got to hear from some great speakers: Representative Kyan Michael, Senator Clay Yarborough, and Senator Dennis Baxley. Senator Baxley, of course, this is his last session. He's kind of been a lion in the legislative process, and just really just a great.
I think there was a moment of silence for his last. I mean, there's a lot of people upset about that.
He's been in the process for like several decades in multiple roles, and he will be greatly missed. But he has just left such a legacy. And it's just been a godly influence in the process, but with respect and with Christian charity and character.
Yeah, so we had breakfast opened up at 7, and
good
then
food,
we had
by the way.
good food. Eggs, bacon, ham. Can't complain.
Exactly.
So we had our breakfast, and then we had a time of worship. And so then we got to hear from some awesome speakers you just mentioned. What was each legislator kind of talking about there?
Really, I mean, just talking about, it was really a lot of inspiration and encouragement, because I think for them, just being able to be in the presence, having to go through the process day in and day out, getting, I mean, obviously just without all the pressures of, the left and the media and social media and activists, just the normal pressure and pace of the legislative session is just crazy. And for them to be able to just take a moment to be able to relax, to take a breath, to be in the fellowship of so many like-minded Christian believers from across the state, I think they were just they felt they were just sharing and kind of giving back some of the encouragement that they were feeling in the entire process. So that was exciting to hear. I mean, Rep. Michaels just like lit up the room, to start with. She is just a powerful, fiery speaker. I mean, she is a mom on a mission. She's,
That's right.
Just with passion and integrity, but with a joyful warrior spirit, that we talk about, that we're in a fight and a battle, but also we talked about this yesterday as well, the need to be able to be joyful warriors, to be able to communicate the truth and love, and she definitely exemplifies that. And then Senator Clay Yarborough, who's a personal inspiration of mine, all the way back to when I was a teenager in Jacksonville, Florida, when he was a city councilman. It's just always great to hear him and just his encouragement and, request for prayer. And then, of course, Senator Baxley, just, giving kind of the closing speech, at least for Pro Family Days and his long and illustrious and productive career. And just, giving a kind of a final hoorah
charge
to the troops. And then, of course, we got to hear from Pastor Abraham Rivera, all the way from Miami, Florida. He and his wife, Marilyn Rivera, brought a whole busload of pastors and supporters from Miami to be a part of Pro Family Days. So that's awesome.
They made the trek from Miami here to be a part of this.
Exactly.
So, that was the end of our time at the Civic Center.
Yep.
We had a great briefing on the bills yesterday. We had a great time of worship yesterday and today. It's fellowship, it's worship, it's education on our bills. It's teaching people how to lobby and meet with these legislators. But then day number 2 comes.
Exactly.
And so after Civic Center, what happened?
So we headed over to the state capitol. We were able to go into the House chambers. Representative Doug Bankson was able to get us in.
That doesn't happen often.
No, it doesn't. So we were able to be in the chambers for about an hour, which was awesome, just to be able to fellowship. Rep. Bankson shared a little bit in there. And then we were able to have the pastors that were there to be able to lead us in a time of prayer. And both actually we had some Spanish pastors that were able to pray in Spanish as well. It was just a great time of unity and just, celebration and just praying over being in the seat of power, really, where the laws and the policies are made here in the state of Florida, just to have a time to be able to pray over the place, to be able to just, be encouraged in the victories that we've been seeing over the past few years, especially here in Florida, and just to give thanks to God for all of that and pray for the future as well.
And they got to lay hands all throughout the chambers and pray over representatives on both sides.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
the party. And Kevin Bird had a funny thing we talked about, not funny, and actually a very cool thing where he said, the gospel is nonpartisan.
Exactly. I mean, that's true. And meanwhile, so around that time as well, a lot of our supporters then started fanning out throughout the House and the Senate, meeting some in groups to be able to meet with their representatives and their senators to be able to share our white papers, share the bills that we're working on that we all, want to see to advance a godly, righteous agenda here in the state of Florida. So we were extremely excited. I know that, a lot of the people were, so we had a good number of first timers too that were just excited.
Yeah.
They didn't quite know what they were, coming for. There was actually one couple that came from Southwest Florida or one family, and they actually, on the way up, they had about an hour out of town, they had a tire that went flat on them. So they thought, oh my goodness, maybe you won't be able to go, but they said they were able to get it repaired and be able to get on the road, and they were so grateful that they were able to be here a part of this.
And I think that's one of the reasons we decided to do a live podcast, or not, live podcast, recorded podcast, combination of the two, this Pro Family Days for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Was because I feel like many people don't know what happens at Pro Family Days. So being able to sit down and detail what happens at Pro Family Days, it's not for legislators.
Correct. No, it's for lay people. It's for people who just, average citizens, moms, dads, business people, who want to be able to engage in the process, but maybe don't know how. Maybe they don't understand the process fully, but they want to learn. They want to be able to engage. And again, there's so much that is available to be done, and so much great work that can be done, and so much impact that we can make as individuals coming together across the state of Florida.
And one thing to note is the whole mission of Pro Family Days. This is not a fundraiser,
right?
As Chris said this last night. We actually usually don't make any money on this, and more times than not, we're actually a little in the hole.
Correct. Yeah.
This is really a mission of our heart to see these people meet, pray, and talk to their legislators and get people plugged in.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's why it's so wonderful. So people, they started meeting with their legislators, and then what happened after that?
So after that, we all basically, once they were able to go to different, I was actually able to engage. So another thing too, before I mentioned the final part of Pro Family Days, I was able to engage with a lot of young people that were coming too. I was able to speak with a young group of young people that
had come. We had a great photo of that.
And it was a great it too. And it goes, and I know you have the same heart too for young people. It's just that's really where my heart is, and in terms of seeing the next generation, I was able to provide encouragement and just hear from them.
Yeah, I don't identify with my generation, but my heart goes out to them. Obviously,
no, exactly. No, but I mean, just the reality too that our generation, and I was telling them, sharing with them that our generation is mostly by and large apathetic to these types of issues and to political engagement. And
why do I care?
Right. What does it matter? Everything's rigged, this or that, and you've got a small minority on the far left, the humanist, leftist side, and then I think you got a small minority of solid young men and women who are Christians who want to see, God's word, to be able to bless people in the public policy arena that are outspoken. And really, I was telling them, I was like, it's really going to be these two minorities of our generation that are going to be the next leaders of the next generation. And whoever is able to, win out, that's going to be the policy for our next generation, for yours and my generation. So I was just encouraging them and excited to see them in the process.
Yeah.
So
you got to do that. You got to encourage some young people. And then last phase of Pro Family Days.
We headed over to the Florida Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, which is directly right across from the Capitol. So a short walk over there. And we got to hear from former State Supreme Court Justice Alan Lawson, who is just a godly man of integrity and character. No longer is on the court, but now is working in the legal in a law firm, working in the legal arena to be able to advance good rulings and work in that process there to influence good law and legal precedent. So it was exciting to hear from him talking about his experience on the court, the impact that we can be able to have in the process. A part of Justice Lawson's presentation, he actually was asking the question, how many of you, when you went to bed last night, laid your head down on your pillow and were fearful of waking up the next morning? And no one raised their hand. And he asked the next question, how many of you woke up this morning wondering, where your next meal was coming from? And I mean, obviously we feed people well at Pro Family Days, so nobody had to worry about that. And then he also asked the question, how many of you were walking around today afraid of being arrested, tortured, or killed because of who you were hanging out with, who you were associating with, what you were saying, what you think, what you believe, or what you do within the bounds of law? And he was like, billions of people worldwide. And he was like, none of you. And it was like billions of people around the world lay their heads down. They're fearful of going to sleep at night, because of crime or because of dangers. Billions of people are going to sleep not knowing, and waking up in the morning not knowing where their next meal is going to come from. And, billions of people are waking up, walking around fearful of being arrested because of what they think or what they believe or what they say or what they do or who they associate with. But not in America, at least not right now. And he was talking about just the tremendous gratitude that we should have to God for the gift of freedom that we have in this nation and the importance of being able to steward that gift. And it was just a really solemn reminder of the blessings that we have as a nation. And especially in Florida, and going back to an earlier part of the day, when Pastor Rivera, who deals with a lot of international churches, he literally said, people are calling me from all over the world, pastors and Christians from all over the world, seeing what we're doing in Florida, and are like, how can we do that in our country? How can we do that in our nations? And I think Justice Lawson in his comments really just captured the uniqueness of where we are, of where God has placed us in time and space, and just how grateful we should be of that, but also how we need to be vigilant in defending those freedoms. So it was just a really powerful reminder. It was really encouraging, again, just to have people hear from, yesterday and this morning from legislators who are just solid believers, and then to hear from a former member of the state Supreme Court, just to be able to share, some encouragement. And again, people left motivated and on fire for truth, and just people were looking forward to bringing this to their local communities, how they can be able to impact on the local level as well, because that's where the local and state is where people can have the most difference. Again, Washington is broken, and we can't always have the biggest impact on Washington, but here locally and in our state we can.
But it trickles over.
Yeah,
it does.
Absolutely.
And that's the cool thing. I mean, we did a lot of new things at Pro Family Days this year, and we got a bunch of great feedback from people about all the different things we tried out this year.
Yeah.
We had a lot of a wiggle room to do different things and try new things. That was just a ton of fun to be able to experiment. And it was really well received.
It was.
And so that was Pro Family Days. Let's do, I know our home team here in Orlando, we have a 3.5 hour trek back to Orlando.
Yep.
So let's do a quick overview on our bills and then we'll wrap up.
So I'll just touch on the ones. You can always go to flfamily.org. Check out our insiders reports.
Yeah, subscribe to our email.
So subscribe to our email list. You can check out our insiders reports already on flfamily.org. Also, Pastor Kevin does the ambassadors update, talking about the Florida Capital Project and the work they're doing with pastors. But we'll just kind of touch on the brief legislation.
They're not coming for us, I hope.
No, I don't think so. But so we're excited about this legislation. Pro Family Days, we only have so much time to be able to go over so many bills. Overall, we're working on about 20 to 25 pieces of legislation this session, but Pro Family Days, you got to condense it. You got to focus on the top highlights. So in terms of some of our top highlights, this year we kind of are supporting a whole slate of bills that are building the culture of life. So whether it's adding the unborn child, basically humanizing the child in civil lawsuit and civil liability law. We're excited about that legislation from Representative Persons Mullica and Senator Grawl. The Adoptive Parent Registry Act, basically seeking to simplify and streamline the adoption process here in the state of Florida. The Surrendered Infants Protection Act by Representative Kennedy and Senator Yarborough, seeking to be able to give different avenues to mothers of newborns to be able to surrender their children if they're, instead of leaving them on the side of the road or throwing them in the garbage, which we've had situations sadly happen in Florida like that. We're like, no, we need to give mothers the tools to be able to, if they choose, they can, if they feel like they can't be able to take care of the baby, let's be able to allow them to be able to legally and safely,
up to 30 days.
Correct, up to 30 days. So we're expanding that, and also allowing EMTs, mother to be able to, as she's giving birth, to be able to call 911, to be able to have the EMTs come out and be able to get the baby from her. So it's exciting. Just building the culture of life. Representative Jacques and Senator Grawl are doing the Parenting and Pregnancy Resource Act, bringing together a lot of resources onto one website portal for pregnancy care resources, natal health care, adoption information, just kind of having a one-stop shop for Florida's, mothers and fathers, but particularly for, new mothers as well. And then finally, there's a bill we're working on with, Democrat support that's financial support for pregnant survivors of rape and incest, basically saying that, which is encouraging that we're able to work on this in a bipartisan manner, that this is legislation that's saying that if a woman is, impregnated as the result of rape or incest or sexual assault, that if she chooses life for her baby, to keep her baby, that certain fines and tuitions and fees for state education, college, will be waived by the state, and also she could qualify for certain state grants for childcare. So it's exciting to be able to work on this. So that's the Culture of Life legislation. Also, in terms of protecting our kids, the HB3, the Porn Age Verification Act, and then HB 1129, the Smartphone Protection Act for minors. Again, common sense stuff saying, we need to be protecting our kids from this harmful and dangerous material that is out on these. Just pornographic, absolutely explicit.
Yeah, so many adults know people personally who are affected by porn.
Yeah,
but to give it almost freely access to our children.
The adult entertainment industry is not relegated just to R-rated movies or Playboy magazines or just strip clubs. It's like on every corner of the internet, and it's more violent and graphic and explicit
almost
than ever before.
I don't know if it's 60% or whatever, but almost the majority of pornographic material out there is incentivizing like rape culture, where it's violent and aggressive forms of
and especially with young people, it's leading them to treat other fellow human beings not as it's like to almost sexually objectify them. That kids are walking around looking at other kids as basically sex objects, and not as they should, as human beings created in the image of God, worthy of dignity and respect. So this is definitely a huge step, long overdue, in protecting our children. So we're extremely excited about that legislation. Also, the Free Speech in the Workplace Act by Representative Chamberlain and Senator Martin, basically saying that businesses should not be forcing coerced speech. Freedom of speech applies not only in that you have the freedom to speak your mind, but also the freedom to not speak and to not be forced to participate in speech you disagree with. The whole pronoun game that we're dealing with, businesses and corporations forcing employees to use preferred pronouns. And again, we're not just talking about being forced to refer to a man as a her or she, or vice versa. We're talking about the z's and the zers and the gazillion new gender neutral non-binary pronouns. It's hard enough in some job places to be able to understand all the job duties. Now you got to learn a whole list of preferred pronouns, and that you're going to be penalized if you choose not to participate in what amounts to a fantasy world. So it's exciting to have these protections in place, and also they're targeting specifically prohibiting the whole gender identity diversity training, which ends up being just a massive indoctrination, shoving this indoctrination down these individuals' throats in nonprofits and government contractors that are basically getting funds from the government. There's no place for that, especially when it comes to tax dollars being funded there.
Last
but not least is House Bill 1639, the Biological Sex and Healthcare Act by Rep. Bankson, basically saying that healthcare providers that cover gender reassignment procedures, quote unquote, which are extremely dangerous. Many of the effects are irreversible. Saying if you're paying for an individual to go through those procedures, you must also cover some of the detransition procedures, or procedures meant to at least reverse or negate or some of the side effects. It's not completely reversible, sadly, but we feel like that's the least that they owe to these individuals. And it's also making sure that health insurance companies offer plans in the state of Florida that do not cover gender reassignment procedures as well, so that there's families and individuals in Florida are not forced to be subsidizing things that they disagree with. So we're excited about this legislation. And then finally, last but not least, we did cover the issue of the Abortion on Demand Amendment that is being pushed by Planned Parenthood and the ACLU, which will be praying on February 7th. The state Supreme Court is going to be hearing oral arguments on this amendment. So unfortunately, not surprisingly though, after spending $15 million, they got the petitions they needed to be able to qualify for the ballot. But now the Supreme Court is going to be hearing whether they will allow the amendment on the ballot or not.
Hopefully they spend a lot of their resources doing so.
Exactly. We are optimistic, but we're definitely still preparing just in case this does get on the ballot. But we believe this is extremely deceptive. It's extreme. And, so we were able to talk and kind of dialogue with some of the attendees about that. So it was an extremely productive event.
Yeah.
Great community contacts, new friends, and just people, just exciting to see. For me, up here in Tallahassee, going through the process, I love the process. I love the interactions I get with the legislators, but Pro Family Days for me even is one of the highlights of the session for me, just because of having all these people come across the state of Florida to stand for righteousness and to, fellowship with like-minded believers.
Yeah, Aaron, it's so great to be back doing these podcasts with you. If you all don't know, we're going to be doing these podcasts very frequently, once a week. Aaron is going to be here in Tallahassee for the remainder of the session.
Yep.
So we're probably not going to be doing any until once he gets back. But once he does, we're
going to be hitting the ground running, buddy.
The ground running. Oh, yeah. We'll be doing that. Stay tuned on all our social media. Yep. I am posting very consistently there for everyone for updates, commentary, different topics. And last but not least, our annual dinner gala is going to be featuring Tucker Carlson live here in Orlando.
Get your tickets. It is selling out fast.
Yes.
So get your tickets.
May 4th. And the website, Chris, you got to remember one more time. It's tuckerorlando.com. tuckerorlando.com. I'm going to remember that one of these days. So get your tickets May 4th.
tuckerorlando.com.
And just to be clear, tickets are selling out.
Yes.
This is a 100% sold event. We have never sold so many tickets this early on in the game. Obviously, Tucker draws a huge crowd. Yeah. Not only that, there's going to be some exciting announcements made at this dinner, so stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss those.
Exactly.
Aaron, thanks for doing this, and you guys out there, have a great rest of your day.
God bless.